Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So here's my review for the finale of The Walking Dead Dead City, and yeah, this ending here is really interesting, and I'm excited to see where season 3 is going to go, because it does seem like there's going to be a totally new direction here. And well, I don't want to say totally new, it's actually really interesting in terms of the characters that are actually going to be in season 3 here. And I actually think it's very, very smart because of some of the characters that they really built up all season long here, and where some of the characters are right now as well. And yeah, I guess we'll talk about that in this video here. So before going any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, I will be doing a video on The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3 and a lot of the news that came out for that, because we actually have a release date and we have a new teaser that came out and stuff. And yeah, that show is going to be coming out very, very soon actually. And I'm just going to say this, I think it's very, very smart, because you want The Walking Dead to feel like it's on for a long time, right? Like, you don't want it to be 8 episodes and then that's it kind of thing. And then you got to wait like 4 or 5 months. And then, you know what I mean? Like, The Walking Dead always worked when you had those 16 episodes air very close together. And obviously we always had like a mid-season break, right? That was always a thing going back to maybe season 2, I believe, or maybe it was season 3. I think it was season 2 kind of started with that, but like, it's always been a thing, right? So that mid-season break was always 2.5 months. And if you think about the release date for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3, it's exactly 2.5 months away from now. So I think it's actually, like, honestly perfect. I think a lot of the promotion for this show is going to be starting now. Comic-Con is in a month from now. We're going to get the trailer then. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about now, all the way until like the end of October, basically. So yeah, and then we'll get our break for a couple of months at that point. And then The Walking Dead will likely return in the spring around May or June for The Walking Dead Dead City season 3, or maybe The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 4. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do all this here, but I will say it seems like their shows are coming out a little bit faster now. It's not going to be like a whole year after they're done filming kind of thing. It seems like it comes out a lot faster now. So yeah, but anyways, let's talk about this episode. So this episode begins with Maggie waking up and she's trapped, and obviously that was the cliffhanger for episode 7, was that Dama was alive and she was actually there. And so Maggie wakes up and is just like, what is going on here? And then you get this, like, I guess, scene between Dama and Maggie, and yeah, they finally had a scene together, right? And a lot of what this story was here was Dama really setting up the fact that Negan needed to die, and the fact that Maggie really couldn't let that go. And Maggie, honestly, I would say she's really been like all over the place, like just everywhere with that type of, I guess, idea of like, do I kill him, right? And I think that it took really like Hershel talking to her and being like, you know what, like, you have to do this. And I think that was the thing that really, you know, for her, it was like, well, I guess I have to. Like, if the one person I'm trying to protect, you know, the son of Glenn as well, like, I have to do this, right? Like, my son wants me to do this. This might be how we move forward. And I think she just kind of went with it. And she knew that she didn't really necessarily want to do it. But I think that it was just like, well, I'm just going to have to, and we'll just see where this goes overall. And I think, we'll talk about once that moment actually happens there, but I do think that that was a really awesome moment here in the episode. And I think, honestly, the confirmation now, like, we have like actual confirmation that Hershel does want to kill Negan. I know that was a whole thing, you know, going back to like episode 3, like, you know, does he actually want to? And he was saying he just wants to move on. I think Dama now has convinced them that, like, well, the only way you're going to move on is if he's actually dead. So I think that's where the story is going here. And honestly, I think Hershel never really had an idea of like what he wanted with the whole thing. I think like maybe he just wanted to move on, but also, you know, maybe he wanted him dead. Like, I just think that he never really thought all of it through. The thing he wanted the most was to just move on and, you know, all of them be a family now. And so I think Dama has now sort of showed him that, like, well, if you kill him, then yeah, you guys can move on. And so I think that's why now Hershel's at that point. And so that's going to be a really interesting storyline for season 3. Like, Hershel wants Negan dead, I guess, and we'll see where that goes, right? Like, really, really exciting. I think that the whole Maggie and Dama storyline here in this episode, we'll talk about the ending and stuff once we get there, but just all of the setup here between the characters, really incredible. And I think Dama really, you know, the whole like manipulation scene there with Maggie was really interesting, because like, she is so good at that. Like, she really got to Maggie. And that is something that, at least for me personally, I was really kind of sad about, if Dama was actually gone, because I wanted to see a lot more from Dama and the Croat. Those are characters that really have been built up well this season, and they both survived the season. They're both going to be in season 3. Yes, the Croat story is, it's kind of out there, but like, he's in New York City. So like, he's going to be there in season 3. And, obviously the whole reaction to Dama being alive and like all of that, like we'll get all of that in season 3. So a lot to look forward to there. And I'm happy to see where the story ended off here in this episode and, where they can go with those two characters specifically. But let's talk about the other storyline here. So for Negan and Bruegel, that was really the big, I would say, story of this episode here. We see Bruegel gathering a bunch of weapons and everything, and at first I wasn't sure what was actually happening. I thought he was like cleaning up everything here, but we learn later on, obviously, when there's the fire everywhere, that that statue had a lot of weapons in it, and so that was their plan. They were gathering weapons to fill up that statue with a bunch of weapons, right, in case something bad happened there. And so, yeah, that was their plan overall. Pearlie goes after Bruegel, and that was the first moment there where I was like, all right, Bruegel isn't as tough as he's acting, like he's really just acting super tough and everything, and he really just tries to convince anyone really of anything in the moment, as long as he survives, right? As long as he wins, basically, right? And so in that moment there, I was like, okay, so Bruegel, like I kind of felt like maybe he could die in this episode just because, I mean, just the way the character is in general and who Negan is as a person, I just felt like, oh, this is going to be so easy for him. And yeah, I mean, we'll get to that scene. Negan actually goes up and yeah, I guess he goes and sees his new group here because he's the leader of this new group now. And Bruegel is there. And so he offers him like this feast here. And of course, he doesn't want to eat. And I actually like the fact that the food was fine. Like, I thought the food was going to be like walker meat or something like that. Like, I actually thought like that's probably going to be what it was. But Negan knew that that's what Bruegel was going to think. And so that whole thing was planned. And they literally like turned the table over. And then obviously Pearlie notices at one point that all the seats and stuff like that in the cathedral were like all covered in like fuel or something like that. And then, yeah, they literally turn the table over or whatever. And the walkers are underneath. And then, yeah, they obviously use the flamethrowers and then they're trapped right there. Like, that was really, really cool. I was not expecting that. Like, that was a really amazing trap. And I think, to have everything also queued up to the music as well. Like, as soon as the music stops playing, they know what they got to do. Like, that is something that makes a lot of sense. Like, you're going to plan something out like that, right? Like, you're going to be prepared for when Bruegel shows up. And I like the fact that all of that, like the way it played out, it just made sense. Because whenever things like that happen, I always try to criticize every little thing in terms of how realistic it can be, right? And all of it made a lot of sense. Like the walkers being under the table and everything too, just because of the type of table it was, like that made a lot of sense as well. Like they were all underneath there. The only thing that's a little off is that they never heard the walkers, but like, little things like that you kind of have to ignore. You can't get every single detail right. All the seats being covered in fuel and everything, and then the flamethrower and stuff like that. I liked that. Also, the fact that the statue had weapons in it, I was like, that makes sense. Like, Bruegel is going to do something like that. And yeah, once Bruegel got the flamethrower, that was just insane. Like, the whole entire place literally was just, it was this really crazy battle. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think that, to start off the episode like that, first of all, to get Negan talking the way that he was talking was really cool because, again, like I talked about this before, but I want to see that character, and I like the fact that where this ended here in the finale, the character is still there. It's not like he went back and he's like, oh, I'm not going to be that way anymore. Like, no, he's still going to be like that. The character still does have Lucille, and yeah, like everything is going to be, I guess what it was in season 2, at least in the finale, at least for that character. So I'm excited for season 3 because I want to see a lot more of that from him. And yeah, this scene here with Bruegel was just really great. And as all of this is happening, you do see that New Babylon has showed up. And so I will say, when it comes to New Babylon and their story, it was really interesting because I thought that they would play a bigger role here in the finale. I thought that there would be like this huge battle. And I was actually kind of concerned that maybe if they did show up, that the whole methane storyline would be over, because the whole thing of like turning on power to New York City and having all this methane and like building up New York City to like this huge, like, you know, place that I guess has so much power and everything, you know, I wanted something like that to happen because I want the Commonwealth or like the CRM to find out about that, right? And so there's a lot of excitement to see where they can build here for like an endgame reunion or something like that, right? To see just this story build up like that. And so I was a little bit concerned because of the Once Who Lives finale that like maybe everything was going to be rushed here and like be very, very fast. And like literally the whole thing ends here. They take out, I guess, New Babylon's army. And that's it, right? But no, that was actually all set up for season 3. And we know we're likely going to be getting a season 4. And also Lauren Cohen's been talking about, you know, at least getting 5 seasons. So I'm like, all right, they're building this up here for a bit. And I'm excited. Honestly, I think that it was smart for them to build up New Babylon like that because we've never really seen them yet. Like we saw like that little group that they had that, you know, came across with Maggie and Hershel, but like that wasn't New Babylon. That was just like, you know, like 20 people or whatever. Like they have a lot of people there now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how New Babylon is going to, I guess, run New York City in season 3. And also they are likely going to cast like a bunch of characters, or I'm sure at least 1 or 2 characters that are going to be really, I guess, terrifying leaders or whatever for season 3, right, of New Babylon. So the Croat's out there as well. So let's see what happens with him. Like I imagine he's probably going to join New Babylon, I feel like, because it makes a lot of sense. Like they're going to need him, you know, I guess help with a lot of that, I feel like. So, I mean, we'll talk about that when I get into my predictions for season 3, but New Babylon, I think being around still is really exciting. And, yeah, I'm happy that this wasn't like the Once Who Lives finale, or even, you know, with how Madame Genet and her arc ending in The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 2, because that was also really rushed and I wasn't a fan of that. So, I mean, Dead City is doing that right. Now, to talk about the Lucille lineup here with Bruegel and Pearlie. Oh, I love this so much. Bruegel immediately, once he realizes, okay, he's trapped, is like, actually, it was all Pearlie's fault. And then he goes into this whole thing. He's basically begging, and he wants Negan to, I guess, let him live, right? And Negan is just like, I don't want to do that. And I really like the fact that he literally did the whole eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing, which was really cool. And afterwards it lands on Pearlie and he's like, I guess I have to kill you. But then he's like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I really don't want to do that. I want to kill you. And then he goes into the whole thing about the methane, because it's really funny because that was a thing all season here, right? And I feel like we talk about that a lot too. It's just like they always talk about the methane. They all want that, right? And so Negan literally uses that, and the show's really aware of that. So they actually use that in the dialogue there in that scene, which I thought was really cool. He's just like, the methane, it's always about the methane, blah, 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 right? And then he actually gives Bruegel a crazy death scene. Honestly, a really memorable, amazing death scene for the character. Like, that was the moment there where I was like, okay, like, I'm okay with the character dying. Like, yes, I wanted Bruegel to be in season 3, but the way he died there, to have that scene, I'm so happy with that. Like, that was definitely a really amazing payoff for the character. And, you know, to see where the story's going now for season 3, I'm even happier with that, because if everyone died, then I'd be like, wait, where are we going? Right? But to have that scene now, to see Bruegel absolutely terrified in front of Negan, that was amazing. And that was really what season 2 was all about. If you really think about it, this season was all about building up Negan and for him to be the leader that, you know, I guess he was in the past. And so, you know, it'll be interesting to see where things go for season 3, but he didn't necessarily go against that after Ginny died, right? Like, it seems like now he's still in that place where it's like, yeah, he's going to obviously do that to survive. Like, Lucille was left in the tunnels, but then again, it's really not that hard of a scene to have him go back there and grab it, or the Croat, maybe he goes and grabs it and gives it back to him kind of thing. Like, it's really an easy thing. The bat is there. Like, it wasn't broken or anything like that. So for him to get the bat, it makes a lot of sense. It's like Daryl's crossbow, right? Like, sometimes he'll lose it, but like the next season he'll get it back somehow, right? So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how he does things in season 3. And we'll talk about that when we get to the end here, but like, it's going to be really interesting, because if he's leading like that, how is Maggie going to feel about that? But I feel like they're both sort of on the same page right now. And so, yeah, really exciting stuff here. After Negan kills Bruegel, he goes after Pearlie. And so, yeah, we get this really cool battle sequence there. And just a lot of the dialogue here, I just really enjoyed, honestly. I really like when Negan is like joking, you know, in that way, and just stuff like that. I don't know, like I've always liked scenes like that on The Walking Dead, like even going back to like the governor in season 3, like stuff like that was always kind of cool when like you're trying to hide and the character is just like saying all these things and like laughing or whatever, you know. And I think with Negan, you know, it made a lot of sense. I was waiting for the whistle, but we never got the whistle, so yeah, there's that. But he's about to kill Pearlie, and Maggie actually goes to kill Negan. And it was a really interesting scene because if you think about how all that played out there, like she went to go and actually do that. Like it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just gonna like save Pearlie's life. Like I think that it was probably, you know, a lot of that as well, but she went there to do that. And so I think after that happened, it was just like, okay, like I'm doing this now, right? And then Negan realizing, okay, I'm about to die, I have to go check on Ginny. He goes over there and he just like fights his way over there. Like he falls down, he's crawling, he's trying to get there. And Maggie grabs Lucille and is like, well, I'm going to use this to kill him, right? And so you get this whole build up there where she's about to Lucille Negan. And then you see that Ginny is gone and that she's a walker. And so a lot of this here, I think, for Maggie and Negan was really the perfect build up for their story, because I think that at that point there, Maggie was literally going to kill him, and like she got to that point where she was like, yes, I'm going to do this now. And then something like that happened and it reminded her that, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And I think that to actually get through that and to get to this moment here where Maggie and Negan are going to actually just move on together and they're both going to be on the same side now, I think that, and I know this is weird to say, but I think that that's exactly what Glenn would have wanted, because Glenn is just like that. Like he's always been more for like, he wants you to be at peace and he wants you to do the right thing. Like that's why when you look back to the whole Outpost storyline with the sanctuary and stuff, he didn't want to kill those people in there, but Rick and them were like, no, we have to this and that. And Glenn had a really hard time with that. And I think he would want Maggie to not kill him. Like I know it's crazy to say, but I really do think that he would want Maggie to not do that. I think if Glenn was alive, maybe he would do it, but like, I think he would want Maggie to not do that. So I think that the way that the scene here played out with Ginny being revealed as a walker and everything there, it was the perfect way to end that storyline there. We had a big character death with Ginny actually dying now. And yeah, it was a really heartbreaking scene. And I think that it just built up really well. Honestly, I'm a big fan of it. And then we get the whole ending of the episode where, you do see Maggie, she goes and talks with Hershel, and she tells him that she's not going to kill him, and that she's going to leave him basically, right? Like she's going to leave Hershel here with Dama, and she's going to let him do whatever he wants with his life, but she's not going to leave the city. She'll always be there. And so Hershel, I think, was kind of shocked by that, like, wait, what? And also really hurt by the fact that Maggie didn't want to kill Negan. And I'm interested in seeing where this is going to go now for season 3, because I think for Hershel, like he wants him dead, right? And so I think it's going to be really exciting for season 3, because for Negan, like what does he do now? Obviously, he's going to have to try stay away from him, right? And so I know that it looks like it's just Dama and Hershel at this point. We'll have to see how they build up some of these groups here for season 3, but I think the ending right there worked really well. I do. I think that New Babylon arriving, this big cliffhanger, we have Negan and Maggie and Pearlie, I guess, you know, they're all on the same side now. And so, you know, I guess obviously I'm focusing more on Maggie and Negan, but it's more because the two haven't really teamed up in this way. I mean, obviously they have in the past, but not like this. Like, I think the line that they said there where it was like, we move on together and we get there, I think that really does show you where they're going here for season 3, that the characters are really going to go in a totally different direction here. Because I think that, you know, Lauren Cohen, first of all, she did an interview recently where she said that there was something really new that they were doing with the characters for season 3. And then she was like, oh, I don't think I can get into that. I guess it's because it was a spoiler for the finale, but Maggie and Negan are going to be on the same side now. And, you know, they're probably going to get along, I would say, pretty well. I think that they'll probably explore that a lot in season 3. We'll see them probably get along really well, right? Like, we're going to see how this plays out here in season 3, but that is where they're going with that storyline. And Maggie is moving on now. And I think that, you know, her decision to move on without killing him is definitely, I think, what Glenn would have wanted. And for Hershel, again, like he's young, so he's going to be, you know, feeling all these different things, this and that. I think it's going to be quite a bit before he realizes a few things here. And so that's what season 3 is going to explore here. So Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I think that this episode was probably one of the best of the season here. And I think this season overall was a really solid season. I think that 8 episodes really works well. Like, yes, you get an episode or two that are slower for sure. I think this season really built up the characters, more slowly. So that's why you sort of had the slow start to the season. But I think it was worth it in the end. And now, you have like what we have here for Dead City Season 2. And I'm honestly a huge fan of this show. I'm excited for Season 3. And I'm just really happy with this finale. It's so weird because like I haven't been happy with the last couple of finales here, like The Ones Who Live and The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 2. Well, I was happy with that finale, but I was criticizing more the story of the season. And so it feels a little weird because, I haven't been that happy with the shows lately. Like The Ones Who Live was awesome until the finale. And that just really, I don't even want to get into that. But The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 2 also was really rushed. And a lot of that could be the episodes. But I think that The Walking Dead Dead City, like, yes, it was a bit slower to start, but I think the story they told overall was really great. I think this finale was a really solid finale. You had some really big deaths here. They built up some awesome characters like Bruegel. Bruegel's an awesome character, and yes, he was a one-season character, but I think that is also fine sometimes because we have Dama, and she's going to be terrifying in Season 3, and you have New Babylon there, and they're taking over the entire city, and so now they have methane, and obviously we've seen what they can do, like in previous episodes. Like we've seen that this season, right? So I think they're going to be a lot more terrifying to deal with than Bruegel or Dama because, they have all these rules and all of that, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes here for Season 3. But yeah, I really enjoyed this finale. I will do a Season 3 video and talk about some moments more specifically later on, as well as some videos on The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 3. So stay tuned for all of that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.